Welcome to Discover the Terror. I'm Max Schmidt, and this is Herbert, your ghoulish host for this evening. Tonight's guest is an inventive writer and producer with fantastic titles in the horror genre like Stay Out of the Fucking Attic, Glorious, and Creeping Death, and many, many more. Jay Goldberg, welcome to the show.
What up? Thanks for having me, Max.
I gotta ask about Stay Out of the Fucking Attic. Like that title.
Oh,
it's very in your face.
Yeah.
Was it always like that? Or did it lead up to it? I know it's a silly question, but I love titles.
It's funny because it's like I always learned about branding's always the number one thing you do. And the first thing people are going to notice is going to be a poster, a tagline, like Jaws or something like that. Like, a title that'll grab people. And I've always kind of been, people have kind of always said, like, I do the horror comedy really, really well. And it's all about tone. And so I always knew, like, I wanted to do a movie about a moving company, and they kind of get in this crappy situation. And it just made perfect sense to call it Stay Out of the Fucking Attic.
Yeah,
because
of course.
Really, every movie is like Stay Out of the Fucking Basement. Don't fuck in the work. It was just something that I really wanted to call it, and everybody was hip to it, everybody except Shudder. Because
they censored it, right?
You got to censor it. You can't put it in Walmart and Best Buy with the title in there. But I just wanted to make a fun, crazy movie of, with monster effects. And when I was writing it, it was just like in such a weird place where I was like, I wanted to do a Nazi movie that wasn't just a Nazi movie. And so, you got to add the monsters in there. And
of course, all the mutations and experimentations that they do in the attic that they're not staying the fuck out of.
Exactly. And it's like, I always wanted to work with Vincent Guastini. He's really, really good. He was our practical effects master on that one. He's from Jersey.
Yeah, the practical effects are great in that movie.
Well, he did, he worked with Kevin Smith a lot. And so
okay.
that was like my big thing. He worked with Darren Bosman, and he's just another Jersey guy. I was like, I want to work with you. And he loved just the idea of making these monsters and these siblings who were like stitched together. And
Yeah. So you're from Jersey, right?
100%.
How has Jersey influenced your creative juice that you put into all of your work as a writer and the projects you want to produce?
There's just something about that state. It just, one of my favorite producers is Heather Buckley, and she brings so much like Jersey pride.
She did The Ranger, right?
She did The Ranger, and she did Sacrifice Game.
Oh, okay.
And then she just produced Fuck Toys, which was at South by Southwest. Oh. And so she's one of my dearest, closest. I love her to death, just good people. But there's just an energy to New Jersey because I feel like New York just shits on the state constantly. Yeah. There's so much self-pride.
Okay.
But I just always loved just, even in California, I'm like, I just wrote a Jersey Devil project because I love that cryptid so much.
There's so much lore there too in Jersey.
There's a lot of like self-pride, which I like, diners and malls and, people who you're always in like the shadow of New York, but you're kind of like doing your own thing. So yeah, no, I was out in Jersey until I went to college, and then I got my master's in Syracuse and came out here.
Okay. And then what was your beginning stage of getting into the industry like?
Oh man, I got my master's at Syracuse, new house, and I needed an internship.
Okay.
And so what really brought me out here was going to work for NBC and interning at E in development, and that became producing work. And like I was here in my, early mid-20s, and so I wrote a little bit, but it was more about that networking because coming out here, my dad's a retired dentist, my mom's a teacher. It was just kind of like, I don't have that Spielberg charm where getting, birthed into an industry. And so it just became like really getting to know the good people. And it's funny, the first project, I've always wanted to do a horrific take on Kafka. And so I wrote a short called Metamorphosis, and I got teamed up with some really, really good people, and we made it. We raised money on Kickstarter and Indiegogo, and we made it then this was shot on film, anamorphic lenses, for like $75,000.
Okay.
But we used great practical effects, great VFX, and it played exceptionally well. That was my, I did my short, did well, and I produced a couple more shorts. And from there, I was like, I'm going to write my first feature. And I knew I always wanted to do a really cool take on Titanic because I always like alter reality stuff. And so I wrote something with my first writing partner. I don't use a writing partner anymore. I'm just, when you're cutting your teeth, you want to grow with other people. And so I wrote a zombie Titanic script, and that thing played it did very well on the festival and contest circuit, like top 10 with Script Pipeline. And I was like, well, I guess I kind of have a knack for this. I always loved horror movies. I was raised on The Twilight Zone. That was my favorite thing. That's why I went to Syracuse, because that's where Rod Serling was from. But I always just liked horror. And like growing up, it was like, back then we had the Blockbusters and the Hollywood Videos, and you just see the VHS covers and you're like, oh, I know what this is. You didn't have the internet, so you couldn't just see the trailer.
I miss that bygone era. Like, it was just so unique.
But then it was also the time where I was like, oh, cool, NBC or one of these like networks, they're like playing all the Friday the 13th, and they're like they take out all the gore. It's fun, the ambiance is fun, but you're like missing that visceral. I just think, there's so much art just being a dad now, and when I'm on set, I make sure my daughter sees all the work that goes into making these monsters, because that is such an art.
Yes, it is.
Something that's scary. Like even the Russells who made the creature from The Ritual, like we would go to these events and they would actually have that monster hanging up, and I was like, it is so pretty and so cool. And to have that, like, I can write pages from what I see in my head, but if I was given a piece of clay to model something, like, I know what I want my monster to look like. I can't do it.
Yeah, it's the artistry that they have to it. Their hands are crafters.
Yeah.
And that's just such a beautiful form that the horror genre gets to express and revel in. That's why I always love, like, Lucio Fulci films. Yeah. Because he's just like, look at this eye gouge. Yeah. Look at it for 30 more seconds, please.
Well, that was the thing. It's like, even with State of the Attic, I was just like, we're going to have, eyes being, incepted by freaking knives and stuff like that. We're going to go with the gore. We're going to get, the head stomp and whatnot. Because I love that type of movie. Yeah. I wanted to be like The People Under the Stairs meets like, Home Invasion. Yes. But it's a home invasion that you're being invited to that you can't leave.
Exactly, right? You're stuck. Yeah. And I've noticed your films really accentuate the gore, because Glorious was just a bloodbath, a cosmic bloodbath.
That was fun, Yeah. It's funny because when I got that script from Josh Hull, and then I brought in Rebecca, and then the entire team kind of came together. It's wordy, but it has to be. It's two people, having a conversation in a bathroom, and then being told, if you don't do this, the world's going to end. Yes. And like, is there truth to this? Is there not truth to it? And once you start seeing the monster and the pieces, kind of like the Jaws, when the shark's not working, but you can see a fin and, a shadow over your shoulder. I really enjoy that, because it's like the amount of gore and blood once our, I guess, lead custodian, he explodes. Building that bathroom, which So
it was a set you guys built, right? Okay.
We were in Mississippi. We were there for 4th of July a couple of years ago, and it was great because I physically got to build the set with the team. And that's the part of producing I love. I'm not a sit in a chair and watch a screen kind of guy. I'm like, cool, let's make sure we're prepped for the next thing and get our, monsters ready. Whatever, if we're setting up a scene, if we need props or whatnot, I really kind of gravitate towards that. But I really had fun building that set. And then I was working with our props and our set designer, and we were just prepping it for the explosion. And so it was just us on set with the line producer, 4 people on a weekend while everybody else was drinking and having fun. Getting it gory and bloody. And I learned a lot doing that, just because I'm more of a producer writer, but to work with these awesome, like, handy people, like that's why I do it.
Yeah. What were some things you've learned, like specific things about like dressing a bathroom for gore?
Gore itself, but I think one of the most fun things we did was it's a truck stop bathroom. Yeah. We got everybody, we gave them all Sharpies and said, time to do graffiti on here, make it your own. And if you look into it, there's like little messages on the wall. I did something like a message for my daughter. I did, for the writer, like little things on there too. And Ryan Quanten, like everybody they had so much fun making that movie. There's so much heart to it. It's like waiting for Godot. Yeah. And then you're like, cool. Then you kind of get to the part with like the cosmic horror and, the monsters and the gore. But it was just a fun thing to make.
Well, you have J.K. Simmons as the cosmic beast behind the glory hole. So how did you get him involved? Did he just love the idea from the get-go? Because it's like you hear the idea and you're like, I have to watch this. I've never seen it.
Well, that's the thing. It's just like, when we were coming up with like, who could this be? There were so many, it's a voice. You're not going to have the presence. It's going to be all VO. Yeah. And so if you're in the bathroom and you're stuck in a bathroom and you're having a conversation, do you want them to sound like Tony Todd? That's going to be a different person than J.K. Simmons, or even going with, we were even going to go out to, I can't remember what his name was, but he played Snot on American Dad, but he was also Booger in Revenge of the Nerds. Curtis Armstrong.
Okay.
Yes. Curtis Armstrong.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting. I've been different.
Yeah, and we were even joking like we should do like an SNL parody where it's like before he died, like get Gilbert Gottfried to be like voice the monster.
Okay.
It's just like you only have a voice,
Mhm.
so you need to make sure that presence is there. And we knew J.K. because Rebecca and I, we both had friends working on a show, and so we were able to go back and forth, and he kind of got a little bit tag teamed.
Mhm.
And, the DP was telling him about this project, and he goes, "I'm just enamored. I just want to read the script." And within 48 hours, he goes, "I want to do this," which is dope.
Nuts, yeah.
It's dope because it's like, for us, it was always that little movie that, if we have to make in Rebecca McKendry's like garage, we're going to do that.
Yeah, of course.
We'll do whatever it takes to get this movie going. And it just kind of like unraveled and got bigger and bigger. And working with Ryan Quanten was just, he's awesome.
How did Rebecca get involved too? Because
I made a phone call.
You made a phone call.
I've known Rebecca for years.
Yeah.
I got started at NBC, and at one point NBC had, it wasn't Shudder, it was like their own version of a horror type of network.
Okay.
And so I was working with them and doing the red carpets, and she was writing. And whenever I would do like a reality show, we needed like a horror talking head, I would always go to her or Uncle Creepy. And so those are my two kind of guys, like, because they're so beloved within the genre. And so I text Rebecca, I go, "Hey, Rebecca, quick question. Would you ever want to direct a glory hole movie?" And this is her coming off of, she did All the Creatures Were Stirring. And then she did, I believe, a Lifetime movie, and she was looking for her next thing. And it became a project where, when you hear glory hole horror movie, you think it's going to be, a Teeth or something that's going to be a guy centered, Johnson getting cut off, Bloodhound getting...
It could be more schlocky than what you guys made, which is existential.
Even with Stay of the Attic, it's like, I never want the audience to know where we're going.
Yeah.
And with Glorious, it was just like, if James Gunn made this, it would be a totally different movie. If, another Troma guy made this, there are other movies where it's a similar idea, but it never goes that cosmic angle.
Yeah.
And I knew from Rebecca, just from her Fangoria, from her USC teachings, I go, we can make something different and unique and special. And I think that's the goal for every movie for me as a producer. I don't want to just throw my name on something because, like, it's a credit.
Yeah.
Unless it's like, times are that tough and you got to do what you got to do. But it's like, I really, really try to find something that's unique.
Yeah.
Similar, but different enough that makes people want to watch it. And Glorious to me was just like, it was that perfect experiment of creepy with crazy with Academy Award winner. I'm like,
it's just such a perfect storm, honestly. Yeah. I remember seeing it on Shudder before I knew you.
It's weird because, like, I love horror.
Yeah.
But I like horror that is genre mashing. Because, like, I've never been a slasher guy. Like, there's certain ones, like, I love Hush. It's just, it's so awesome. And, like, I love, like, the Friday the 13th and that type of stuff. But modern day slashers just never did it for me. And people crap.
Modern day, what does that mean to you? Like, what era?
Well, I'd say, like, even like the 90s.
Okay, yeah.
Like, even like, I Know What You Did Last Summer and The Screams, and they're great movies. It wasn't something that I wanted to make, or at least something I wanted to write. And so even I wrote one slasher because I promised myself this. I've got a lot of scripts in my arsenal that I wanted to have different subgenres. And it was important because, like, if you're just putting out the same thing, that's what people are going to expect of you. But it's like I wrote a script that was on a part of Big Break's top 3 for horror.
Okay.
16,000 submissions for Final Draft Big Break.
Yeah.
Top 3 horror.
Okay.
And it was a conversion therapy camp slasher that meshed the therapies that they were doing on these poor kids, but to Saw. So to bring them together, I'm like, that's what I like.
Yeah.
Just a bunch of people going in the woods, like, In a Violent Nature I like because it's a new perspective and it's immersive. But I gravitate towards things that are a little bit more fun and unique, like The Final Girls.
Yeah.
I love that movie.
Oh, yeah.
Adam
Devine's great in that.
I love that. I love the, what's it called? Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
They're all twists on classic genre trope.
Yeah.
And just, obviously, those are more comedic. But I feel like for you and some of the stuff I've read and watched by you.
It's all about
It's all about character.
Yeah.
And I've noticed I know horror has a survival element to it naturally, but you really focus on survival.
Yeah.
And what's your take on why do you think you always gravitate towards humans surviving themselves and their environment?
Well, I think, you don't know yourself until you're put into a situation and what you can do and how far you're willing to go. I think Saw really kind of did that. Are you going to take your leg off?
Literally.
To do that. And I think, a lot of things happen that are out of our control, especially in my scripts. And it's just like, you have to go about this, or you've got to deal with the grief in some capacity. And sometimes it's these environments and experiences that push you to do that, which I always like.
But I've always been curious. The scripts you've written before being a dad and now after being dad and in the horror space.
Oh, yeah.
How has that changed? How has your perspective changed on horror?
Let's put it this way. Like, I remember watching the Pet Sematary reboot, and I'm like, I knew what's going to happen with the kid. And it didn't help that the girl's name is actually my dog's name. And so I turned to my guys in the theater and I was just like, I'm not scared. I promise you I'm not scared. This just hits a little too close to home. Yeah. And that's it. I walked out. The scene happened. I came back in, finished the movie. No problem. And I think you become a little bit more sensitive as a parent. That being said, I've got no problem killing babies. And killing, I produced this movie called I Will Never Leave You Alone with D.W. Madoff. And we sold it to Dark Sky. And there's literally a sequence where this guy is possessed and he puts his baby in a microwave and the wife finds it.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's pretty intense. And that's the sequence that everybody talks about.
Yeah.
So I think there's a reason for violence. And as long as these, if you're doing something supernatural and these spirits are pushing you to do something you don't have control, then it makes sense. Yeah. But if you're going against your own characteristics just to be scary, that doesn't do it for me.
Yeah, there's got to be some method to the madness of why somebody would break to do such a heinous thing, either possessed or something... Screw loose.
I read your stuff too, and you know me. It's always about character and what works in this world. Yes. And how can you make this world feel lived in, yet unique?
Yeah. Yeah, for me, I've always been just fascinated by what people do behind doors. I know that sounds kind of creepy, but it's just like, that's you being you without eyes on. So how different are you?
100%.
Yeah. And do you find yourself wanting to see the horror landscape differently now as you've written a bunch?
I think what I'm seeing a lot more in just this experiential type of horror stuff where you're looking at movies like Skinamarink and A Violent Nature, I think that's awesome because things have changed so much with VR and headsets, and technology's changed so much that it really opens up different mediums for you to explore the genre. I think what I like seeing, right now there's a lot of the Bambi movies and the Popeye movies and the Terrifiers, which are great, where people are trying to go as violent as possible on micro budgets. And these movies are playing theaters and they're doing really, really well. It's not what I like to do. I really try to challenge myself as a writer. I had a project that made the hit list. It's a UFO cult movie, which is basically Midsommar meets Fire in the Sky. Okay. That's the type of stuff I love. I'm prepping a found footage movie right now that's a feminist take on found footage that I've never seen. And so if I could do something that's similar but different with, nods to the genre, but making it its own living entity where people could say that was really, really cool, or oh, this is a rip off of that. That's not what I'm trying to do. Yeah. I really want to do things that are cool. It's an awesome take on survival horror. We've never seen this before. It's a super fun ride. That's all. People need an escape these days. There's a lot going on politically. There's a lot going on, in the world where, you need to get out. You need a, even Mad Max Fury Road type movie. I want to escape.
What's interesting though with horror, because films in general, media in general, is a form of escapism, right? But horror is so reflective of its time, or it can be, maybe subconsciously or consciously. So isn't it weird that when we go to a horror film trying to escape our world, but we're kind of seeing it reflected back to us? Why do you think us humans are so drawn to horror?
Well, I think it's funny because my wife hates horror movies. Okay, she hates horror.
Why? Did she ever tell you why?
Scared. She likes rom-coms. She likes Friends. I will not watch Friends. I don't think that shit's funny. But I like horror, and I've always liked it because the same reason why I like, and I say this all the time when I speak, children's shows and Pixar movies, because you're able to build fantastic worlds and make people believe that these exist. you could do that maybe like in an Adam Sandler movie like Click, but you need those supernatural elements. In horror and in kids movies, it could just be. This is the way it is. This is your imagination.
Yeah.
And I love that. I've written kids horror stuff, and it's fun. Like I wrote a kid's version of Saw, which was just like an
Wait, what?
Yeah, I'll send it to you. It's super fun, but it's like you want to have these kids experience these types of things too.
Yeah,
but in a safe, nurturing way, like Goosebumps.
Yes, exactly. I mean, that's what I grew up on, was reading and watching Goosebumps.
100%.
And it was a great segue into, it's a gateway. I think gateway horror is so important. That's why I like, with Eli Roth when he did House and with the Clock in Its Walls, because we haven't seen like a big produced children horror movie in a while.
No, yeah, it's I love it for that sake, that kids can be exposed to this, and I think they're doing it more often. It's like my daughter, when it's like October, screw it, when it's even August, like she just wants to go to Spirit of Halloween, and it's just like I think it's just the feel of it. Of like, okay, you don't know if something's going to come and jump at you, but you feel safe. Yes.
Like I Spirit Halloween was always in Party City, like the Halloween section. I mean, that's where I got this fellow right here,
Birth it yourself.
Right. And it's just so fascinating because your daughter loves horror.
It's 6. She's now 7. Last year she watched Jaws. She loved it. Her favorite part was when the kid gets eaten. She's like, watch it again. I'm like, this is fake, right? She understands all that stuff. But it's like she's got friends who are freaked out watching like, Disney zombies and stuff. But I'm like, I've tried to explain to her, like, this is art. Let me show you, like, this is the monster you see. This is what somebody drew, and then this is what they did with the class. Like, that is the cool thing that
demystifies it, right?
Yeah. And I think, I remember I was working at NBC and I was doing this show and doing trailers, and it was like this EPK of The Descent, and that is my favorite horror movie.
I just rewatched it again. Oh god,
the bats in the beginning are VFX and crazy, but aside from that movie is perfect. But I remember watching a EPK, and it's the people dressed up as the crawlers, and this guy's dressed up as a crawler and he's reciting Shakespeare. I'm like, it just kills it. It just kills it. It's just the sequences in that are so awesome. I love that movie.
I loved how they played with negative space a lot in the film.
The movie works on so many levels. Subconscious.
Yes.
It's claustrophobic. And then there's monsters. And then you have to ask yourself, it's like kind of the as above, so below movie, like,
love that one
is
too.
This real? Or did she create this in her head? And that's the end of that movie.
It's like she's going through the caves of her mind because she's dealing with trauma of losing her grief. And it's just, I forgot about that aspect when I rewatched it.
Oh, it's so good.
And I was like, okay, now I get the movie.
That movie's perfect. I love that movie. And I saw the sequel to Descent. Like, it's good.
Yeah, the sequel's good. I still need to check it out. Yeah.
I just love that world building, and just seeing how they like made the caves is really cool to me.
Okay, I need to look at some BTS because I was curious. I'm like, God, the caves look so good. So I wonder how they.
Well, even just the sequence when they're crawling and it's like coming down. Yeah, like it's fantastic. That's a great Neil Marshall movie.
Do you think our inner child is the thing that gravitates towards horror? Like the how we loved being scared as a kid is different. How we're being scared as an adult, right? We experience it differently. So it's like our inner child fiending for that.
I remember as a kid, I used to have nightmares. And that would, you'd wake up and you'd be like, done. Like now, if I get a nightmare, I literally like write it down next to me. I'm like, this is a cool concept. Like, I don't know if it's like I'm desensitized, but I think like as a kid, you're always told, no, you can't see this. Like my mom was just like, you're not going to be, it's not a horror movie, but like Fight Club. It's too real. You're seeing it. I saw it. It's fine.
Yeah.
Great soundtrack. Yeah. But it's just like, there's always that you can't do this. And so you want to go.
A forbidden fruit.
Yeah. And so that was kind of it for me, but it was like, it's weird because when you think about like 80s and 90s horror, just I'm 42 and whatnot, like I was raised on that type of stuff, like Friday the 13th, The Nightmare on Elm Streets. And after a while, it's like, you watch the first movie and then it just kind of like goes Evil Dead, Army of Darkness on you. You're like, oh, this is super fun. And you need to be able to enjoy that. And like, for me, it was always the world building.
Yes.
Like, I grew up in the burbs in New Jersey, and I'm like, I'm watching Jeepers Creepers. I'm like, this is great. And it's great on so many levels because the monster is in 3 things. You got the monster as the truck. You got the guy in the hat.
Yep.
You've got the creeper.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
It's the smart, it's smart horror. And I don't know, my brother's not a big fan of horror. My wife hates horror. I think it's like, I want to make movies that don't make you want to look away. Like, I'm not going to do the movie where, well, maybe I will. I don't know. Your head gets decapitated. It's just all that gore. And you're like, I want people to have fun watching it. And that's always my idea. That's why people go to horror nights.
Yeah.
They want to be scared, but they want to be scared safely.
It's a thrill ride, you know? You know the roller coaster is going to end.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you're seeing like your daughter grow up with this experience of horror in this new age with, I assume she's not on social media and dealing with that stuff yet, right?
I'll let her do that for a while. Like,
yeah.
I'll say this. I was really happy when I got like a little Fangoria shirt for her and like she gets to wear that. Like, I'm never going to be the dad who's going to force her to say, you need to watch this movie or whatnot. But I'm like, I want her to experience everything that she is comfortable doing. Like, I plan on taking her to, punk rock shows. And, if she wants to go on the pizza slice and crowd surf at the Aquabats, I'm all for that.
Yeah.
I want her to live life. And just because I'm not going to say like I was shuttered in like as a kid. Like, I grew up in the burbs in the 80s. Like, we would go to the mall. That would be it.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't have 50 movies coming out a week. You didn't have everything on your phone if you want to watch it. And so you just really had to be like really precious with your time.
Of course.
Now it's like, if you don't get somebody with the first 7 minutes of your movie,
yeah,
they're shutting it down.
Yeah.
They're not going to watch it. Instantaneously, people go on like Letterboxd and they'll crap on your movie that they never watched.
I know. And it's just like silly reviews. You could tell they haven't watched it because they're just talking about nonsense that has no relation to the film at all.
But I think everybody wants to have that festival darling. They want to have their It Follows. They want to have movies like The Blackening. And I think, you could do movies now without being so on the nose and so, I want to say like stinky when it comes to like a message that you're pushing.
Yeah.
And that's why movies like Get Out are so good. Because you let the audience have a conversation afterwards.
Yes. I mean, that's the horror I appreciate.
Yeah.
And more on the logistical production side of getting your films made. It's changed completely from what you talked about with the indie darlings. Like, is that too common anymore nowadays or not?
What I've noticed that a lot of people are making $200,000, $300,000 movies and they're getting made and they're playing the festivals, but it's harder to sell them because there's so many like them.
Yeah.
And so that's the issue I've been seeing. So it's like, if we're going to make a movie and if I'm lucky enough, because it is so hard to get movies made, that you better be doing something that's kind of unique, whether it's a really unique story, a different way of shooting something, like you're seeing these experiential movies. I think that's what people want to see. They want to see something that they've seen before, but in a different light.
You know what I loved about the new 28 Years Later was just how they shot it.
Yeah.
Have you seen it yet?
I haven't seen it. I know the head of marketing at Sony, and it looks great. I'm going to check it out for sure.
Yeah, I was just blown away by the technical aspects of the film. And I don't want to go too deep in and ruin it.
I know that they had iPhones at the watch.
Yeah.
Like, it's really cool because you could do some awesome stuff these days.
Yeah. But it's funny, like, when you look at Danny Boyle doing 28 Days Later with those old Canon digital cameras, and it still has such a unique look to it. Like, it's not like anything else. And then now 28 years later, it's the updated version of what he was doing with the first film, with how he wants to shoot it, but with iPhones now. And I think that's honestly one of the best iPhone shot films I've seen.
Every artist just wants to keep growing, being known for doing cool stuff. Like, perfect example, like that movie, or like you watch a Wes Anderson movie, you're like, Wes Anderson, I love him to death. Like, I think Grand Budapest Hotel is picture perfect.
Oh my God.
Like, I remember watching that on a plane and just loving every second of it. But I think people get used to the style, the sensibilities.
Yes.
And that's why some later movies aren't as well received. I think what you need to do is you need to surprise your audience. You need to surprise your fans. I feel like Eli Roth does that very, very well. Even with him picking up like Jimmy and Stiggs, like that's a super fun movie that normally, wouldn't get a theatrical release, I'd imagine. I love, that entire team. But I feel like, you get guys like him and they champion you. And now it's like off to the races.
Yeah, I mean, I love what he's doing with the horror section. Yeah. Because I remember hearing Joe talk about Jimmy the Stiggs like during the pandemic when he was filming it.
It took him 2 years to make it. I've known him for years. Him and Josh, and they're great guys. And they are kind of like the Splat Pack, like modern day type thing, where they're like, we want to make this movie and we're going to do it by our own rules.
I love it.
You can see that perfect with like the Christmas Buddy Christmas. That's exactly what it was. It was a Joe Bagos movie, bigger budget, his rules.
It's great. It's like a hangout movie about metalheads talking about metal, and then freaking Silent Night, Deadly Night with a Terminator twist to it.
But it's like only very specific people could like make that work.
Yes.
And that's why it's like that perfect combination. That's why movies get made. That's why sometimes movies don't get made. Or that's why you're on set and you're like, it only takes one person to kind of like ruin the vibe. And so like that movie or any of these movies, it's just like when you've got the team that you trust and you work with and you just want to keep doing it again.
Yeah, it's like your film family.
Yeah, well, it's a high being on set. And
it is.
And it sucks and it's exhausting, but then once it's over, you miss it.
Oh, 100%. It's like the best high I've ever had in my life. But, you know, obviously I haven't done a feature yet, but just from the shorts, I'm just like, God, if I could do this for the rest of my life, I want to do it for the rest of my life.
It's wonderful. I think what I love about filmmaking is that, you know, as a writer, I never felt like I was an artist, but you're really crafting something out of nothing.
Yeah.
And I've been hired to ghostwrite. I've written for other production companies and I've got my own stuff that I'm doing. But there's something really magical about looking at a blank page and then you're like creating a world and then you get folks to read and they say, we see the value.
Yeah.
And that's just based on words.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
like evocative words that can make you picture the world. And I'm always curious when I read somebody else's script and then I send one of my scripts out to somebody, I'm like, I know they're perceiving it differently than how I see it as like a director, right? And I always think that's fascinating. I want to see like, how do you see this hallway that I described?
Yeah.
I know it's going to be lit differently than how I'm laying it in my head.
Well, I think it's just so subjective because people, if you get a good reader, they'll really go into it. But there's other readers who are just skimming it and be like, yes, no, pass. Like creative execs are like, does this work for us within the first 10 pages? No, we like the writer or something like that. I always try to read it just because I know how hard it is to get people to read your work.
Yeah.
Whether it's reps, whether it's other creatives, just like people have a stack and eventually they'll get to yours.
Yeah.
And so I really, when I'm working with my clients too, I try to give it like a week. I go, give me a week because, you know, this is important to you. It should be important to me. And I say that and I mean that. Because if you're going to sit down and write a script and not go to the bars and not go to the movies and not see your girlfriend just because that's what you want to do, then if it's that important to you, it should be important to me. And I don't say that from the way that I can make money off of this, but for the world that if you created something and we could physically make this, that's the magic.
Yeah.
I say this all the fucking time. And it's like, you'll always get people who are going to go spend their money to go see Taylor Swift. And that's like, I always like to think of those as like big studio projects. Then you'll get the guys who want to make these, you know, smaller indies. And that's the band that's just opening up for someone. But if you're able to do something really, really cool, like a movie like Super Dark Times and, you know, even like Donnie Darko, like you're able to do that. You're able to really grab an audience. That's how you become the Ari Aster. That's how you become, you know, those type of, you know, just filmmakers. You know, you've got to take chances. You got to be humble and, you know, ask for favors. But the goal is you do something with so much, you know, everyone working at 110% that when it's finished, it's undeniable.
Yeah.
Because I've seen people who just like, they crap through shooting a movie in 7 days and 3 months later they show me, you know, the first cut and I'm like, well, what are you doing with this? They're like, oh, this is what the movie is. I'm like, it feels rushed. And I know, you know, time is money, money is time.
Yeah.
But, you know, you should be able to see the movie in your head as you're doing it. I know there's always going to be things that come up while you're filming.
Of course.
That's it. You know, that's kind of like the producer in me where you're just got to be ready for anything.
That's like the movie gods or whatever you want to call it, kind of pressuring you to like get that diamond. Okay, this avenue that I thought I was going to go down and I planned for is under construction, shut down. I can't go. Okay, let me make a left. Oh, that's taking me around the whole side.
Working.
Right? And then it becomes so iconic.
Yeah. Like even with Glorious, like I'll say this, we had the set delivered to us and our original set deck or whatever, you know, our creative, he didn't work on it at all. These were just blank slabs that with no, you know, map of how to put it together that we then had to go find, you know, 2 weeks before, a week and a half before shooting, local crew to help us build. And so I'm there painting the set. I'm there getting whatever, you know, people need. And it just becomes like a situation where I prefer filming outside of where I live. Because you could really kind of like give 100% of yourself to it. But otherwise it's like, it's hard because you're like taking calls from family and whatnot.
Like, what else am I here except to make this film?
Exactly. And so, you know, you kind of get into that situation where you're like, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make this good. Because I know in the end, if my name's on it, And if I'm going to be out there promoting it, and we've got Fangoria coming and doing an article on us, and Dread Central and Bloody Disgusting, I want to make sure whatever I do is better than the last thing. And I try really hard. Stay of the Attic is not a perfect movie, based on the letterbox reviews and, based on the critiques in general.
Yeah.
It's far from a great movie. But for something that I wrote within a 3-month period, and I said, I'm going to write something super cheap, super contained, and I have access to a potential investor.
Yeah.
Here's the pitch. What do you think? I love it. We knew that we were going to be making that movie. And so you're like, great, we made that movie. Then literally that movie came out as the pandemic began on Shudder. And I was working on a show called Brain Games for Nat Geo and Disney Plus. And I just remember it so well that we were going to prep to film that show, and the pandemic happened, and I look outside the window at Magical Elves, and Hollywood is dead. It is like Walking Dead. And I was really pissed off because I'm a music lover.
Yeah.
We'll talk about music in a second because music's very important to me when it comes to the writing.
I agree.
It just gets you in that mind.
Yes.
But I was looking across because Magical Elves was right next door to the Palladium. And I was so jazzed because my parking was at Palladium. That following night, I was going to see Alkaline Trio with Bad Religion. Great dual lineup.
Yeah.
And I love this. And then it became all the concerts canceled. The show I was on got canceled. My daughter's school shut down. And I was a stay-at-home dad.
Yeah.
And so my movie came out literally when that happened. And the next week, I was just there with my kiddo. She's like 2 years old. I was like, I need to make up another movie.
Yeah.
I do. And I literally went on Facebook saying, hey, Attic just came out. I'm looking to produce a horror movie. Send me what you got. You don't have to be rep by anybody. Please send me. Make sure it's single location. Make sure it is, something that could be done within that $400,000 or less range. And I got maybe 75, 80 scripts. And I would read the first 10, 15 pages if I knew if it was where I wanted to go with it or if it was something I liked, based on the log line too. And the last script I got was Old Glory. But technically it wasn't. The writer, Josh, I love him to death. He sent me a screenplay about the making of The Evil Dead.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, dude.
Was it like a horror movie?
It was like no, it was literally the making of it. It was like a biopic horror comedy.
Interesting.
Where you're like, Sam Raimi, you got Ted Raimi, you got Bruce Campbell, and then you get the actors playing. I'm like, I love this. But there's no way in hell. Like, we send this to Ghost House to see if they'd be interested. But I'm like, there's no way that I'm ever going to be able to make this. Well, what else do you have? And he goes, well, I got a glory hole movie. I go, I came from working at the Howard Stern show.
Yeah.
You should have started with that. And I think it just became like, I want to give the opportunity to people that I never had. I didn't have mentors. I came out here. I figured it out we made the Metamorphosis short because I got hit by a car. I was crossing the street, going to the gym, right by Park La Brea. Dude ran me over with his car. And I used that lawsuit money to finance that.
That's nuts.
Yeah. So that was that one. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, honestly, that's something I've always appreciated about you. Like, when I got here to LA,
how'd you meet?
Let's see. I saw your name on Glorious.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I need to network. I need to go out. I need to meet people. Yeah. And I loved Glorious. And I'm like, okay, this is kind of the same wavelength of like the types of stuff I want to make and whatnot. So this is when I was really using LinkedIn. And then
was it LinkedIn or was it on Reddit you got me?
I think it was LinkedIn.
Let me double check. I might be Reddit. It might
Really?
be Reddit. I don't know. But I just remember like whenever anybody hits me up, I will always give them that gentleman's 10 minutes of my time.
Yeah.
Because I'll be honest with you, I'm not that fucking important. I'm not. But if you get enough people together, you can make something really cool. There's a reason every year why, and I say this too a lot, why the ICP and St. Clown Posse, they sell out the Gathering of the Juggalos. Oh, they found their audience.
They found that's a community at this point.
Yeah, they found their audience. And I feel like horror is very much like that. Yeah. Horror fans, you could have the A24 snobs, you could have the Terrifier, ultra violent people.
The gore hounds, yeah.
Or just the people who just love storytelling. There's so many different ways to go and skin this cat.
Yeah.
But I feel like, someone who watches Presence might not want to watch, Terrifier. That it's just that world. But I always like to say, like, if you've got a very unique voice or you got a really cool story, if I can't help you over the years, as I touch my mic, I know that's the number one thing you don't do. Just working in ITV, you don't touch the mic. If I can help you in a capacity, whether it's like shepherding your project to somebody, championing and getting to somebody who can help, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, my dad's retired dentist, my mom's a teacher. The way that this is going to happen is from tenacity and, not stopping. Like,
Yeah.
It's a rarity to have, like, to be in your 20s, to make a feature, unless, you're raising money on Indiegogo, GoFundMe, you've got money from graduation, you're funding yourself. Like, even, like, I'll drop this right now, like Matt Sampier. He did the movie Creeping Death.
Yes, he did.
He made a short film based on it. He wrote the feature. He came to me the same way. He went to Syracuse. He hit me up. We met up for drinks. And he goes, I really want to make this movie. I go, well, what's stopping you? There really is, like, movies are expensive.
Yeah.
But if you're able to do something, and Creeping Death is very, very ambitious for a first feature. Multiple
Definitely.
locations, multiple, a lot of night shoots, a lot of cast, a lot of extras, ample amount of gore. But it's just like most first-time features you see, it's like, single location, something kind of happens, and then it gets just batshit crazy for the last 10 pages.
Yeah.
And like, he just didn't want to do that. He wanted to make his own slasher, with his own lore. And we sat down and I worked with him for a very long time. And then it became cool making the movie. Great. Let me see if I can sell this for you. And we did. And we got into UK Fright Fest, and he learned a lot too. And I said, like, Alkaline Trio, I really love that band because they've got like one line, like from this song Burn, it goes, everybody learns faster on fire. And that's filmmaking.
That's
100%
a great line. Yeah.
And so he learned how hard it is to make a movie, but to be a director, to be an actor in it, a lead producer on it. And you really need to be able to...
An editor, right?
Yeah, he edited. He did score for it too. He really, really wanted it.
Yeah.
And that's the type of people I get behind.
Yes.
Because if I'm going to help you or not, you're making this movie. I can help you to make it better, so be it.
The train's moving.
Yeah.
Left the station.
And that's the thing. It's like, those are the people that you want to be around.
Yeah. So that's what you look in.
Yeah.
As a producer looking for directors, you want that tenacious eye.
Writers who are constantly writing, because like the amount of times I work with or I hear from a writer, he's like, oh, I'm taking out my script. This is the same script that they wrote 4 years ago. Like, you should be adding to your library. You should be challenging yourself.
100%.
Like, if you're just going to walk around with one script in Hollywood, perfect example. You go to a pitch meeting, cool, that's not for us. What else you got?
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's it. Well, you don't know what someone's going to gravitate towards. Like, people are like, cryptids are going to be huge. Do you have any cryptid movies? No, I don't have that, but I can write this. Cool, what's your time frame? Then you might have a producer who wants to work with you on that. One of my dearest, closest friends is Christian Armagida. He did Black Hood's Daughter. He did Glorious. He did We Summon the Darkness. Okay. Just one of the nicest guys. But he's very much, and I've learned a lot from him when it just comes from, like, you gotta, there's a way to make movies and there's a way to treat people. And, you've got to give what you get. And I always try to, like, just emulate that. You got to be a good person, because there's a lot of people in Hollywood who will stab you in the back for their opportunity.
Yeah.
But those are not the people you want to work with.
No, definitely.
Making a movie's hard. It's really hard.
Yeah, and you want the people that are going to put that knife not in your back, but in your hand, so you can go together and battle this fight of making a movie.
Yeah. Well, there's nothing better than just being on set and you look around and you're like, we're fucking doing this. And you've got your friends with you and people who are, spending hours upon hours building monsters just to make it work. I'm right now prepping, knock on wood, a pretty big project. And it's just, you never expect to get the Ari Aster, you're making Hereditary for your first movie. I always like to think, like, you start small. You say, cool, let's make your first one for 100,000, 250, unless you could do it for less. 500, 750, $1 million, so on and so on and so on. You need to have those growing pains. Because if you just jump into a big project, you're not going to have any idea what you're doing unless you've got good people behind you who can really shepherd you.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like, we've got a project and it's getting legs, and we were at Cannes and there's a lot of interest from studios and different production companies and distributors. And it just becomes like, when you realize the reason people like this is because you've got a great producer. People like the script.
Yeah.
People love the director. That's the magic. It's that potion that you're putting together where, also you got to shoot your shot. Like, you could have the greatest script ever, but if you're not willing to send it out to anybody, you might as well be like the Rolling Stones and sitting on a demo tape.
Well, I want to go back to music.
Yeah.
'Cause you said that was a huge aspect of your writing process, right? Can you give me the writing process with the music? Like,
Dude, I used
how'd
to
that
be a
go?
DJ in Boston. It was like punk rock, emo, screamo. I grew up with the bands like Coheed and Cambria, Taking Back Sunday, Brand New, who's back on tour right now. Like that was like the music that I loved. Like I loved going to live shows.
Yeah.
Because of the energy.
The energy.
The energy is incredible.
It's different than just, I mean, I love just listening to music and watching maybe a live
I can't do it.
YouTube, but it's different.
Well, here's the thing. It's like now you go to a show, it's literally just phones up in the air. You're like,
yeah.
Like I'm just, it kills me because I grew up going to Warped Tour. It's coming back and, you know, you had a flip phone and you lived in the moment. And music's always been huge. Always. It's just like if I wasn't doing entertainment, I'd be working in the music industry.
Yeah.
It's my second love. It's probably my first love. You never know. But, you know, when it comes to writing, there's certain ways like you just want to get in that zone. Yeah. Even coming to producing, you want to get in that zone. You're like, well, cool. I got to find a specific type of place. Like, let me get in that mindset. But as a writer, it's like the Midnight, Time Cop, 1983, like any of that synth pop like stuff. I love that. Slipknot, you know, if I'm getting into a really like messed up, like if I want to get into a really, 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 really dark space.
Put Iowa on.
Yeah. You can find a way to get there. But I just, you know, I grew up with the emo, screamo stuff. And like music's just so important because it's like I said earlier with Donnie Darko, Tears for Fears, like it's like you could picture that moment. And so, you know, I would love to be in a situation one day where it's like, I know enough musicians that are touring and artists that I love that will be able to put their music in that if I'm directing something, I can then kind of showcase it. Like the movie Dee Dee, my buddy, he is good friends with the guys from Motion City Soundtrack. They haven't put a song out for years. And he goes, hey, do you have anything that could work with this? They had a track that was just sitting around. They put it in the movie. And now that brought new life because that movie went to Sundance for them.
Wow. That's great.
Cool.
Yeah.
So cool.
Like this current script I'm writing, the Asylum script I told you about where the goth band go.
Yeah.
Like it's an industrial score for me. So I like that. A playlist of like Puce Mary, some Throbbing Gristle, and then Sisters of Mercy plays such a huge aspect of like the tone of the movie. So like Floodlands is just constantly blasting while I write, and I love their deep cuts. Like On the Wire, they're just on the first album that, you know, most people don't even know about and talk about, but then I'm like, God, this is like such a fantastic track that's just a throwaway. Right. Like, I could see this as the theme. Like it's just so giallo, you know?
I was talking to Mike Epstein because he directs and whatnot, Once and Future Smash, but they were like, we went up to Time Cop 1983 and they gave him a song to put in their movie. Can't beat that. Come on.
Yeah.
It's good exposure for everybody.
Yeah, 100%, right? You know,
I was going to say, like, if I'm getting like that weird, like I had a movie we're hoping to do with Ryan, who did Street Trash, and he did
Fried Berry.
Yeah. And so we're prepping like it. I'm like, I wrote this script. It's called Gums, and it's so
yes.
And I'm just like, you know, when I was writing that, I was like, I need to be in like the right mindset. I'm like, what is the mindset? I'm like, I'm putting on mindless self-indulgence. Okay, is great because it's like them, the Bloodhound Gang. It's like you got fun, and if you're not having fun writing this, and if you're not having fun making this, people are not going to really have fun seeing this.
Yeah.
You know, there's an instance of like, you know, you could tell people loved being on the set.
Yeah, especially how they talk about it afterwards. They're just like all positive stuff, even though when it gets tough, you know, that's just a momentary thing.
That's it.
Unless you freaking drag that shit out, and then it's like you don't want to be with somebody like that.
Well, there's a difference when it gets tough as a crew and tough working with talent.
Yeah,
like, you know, the talent thing it happens. The more successful, the richer some of these people are. But sometimes you just get people who are just like ready to, you know, throw down and have a good time. And that's the real cool stuff. And, you know, say something doesn't work or it's not working on set, you know, then you get creative. You sit down, you talk, you say, well, what can we do as, you know, an alternative, or is there another way we could flip this around to make this work? You know, that's when you get people coming together and getting creative with it.
Yeah.
You know, property people are magic makers, you know.
They are the unsung heroes there.
Great. And the guy from Glorious, he just worked on Life of Chuck.
Oh,
which is huge.
Okay, yeah.
That's for Alfred. He's a great guy.
Awesome. So Jay, as we kind of wrap this up, if you want to look at the camera and kind of give your spiel of lasting advice to any filmmakers trying to make it right now.
It's hard because it's like, if you're a filmmaker and if you're a student, and if you are lucky enough to have like a camera that you could just shoot anything with.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're a student and you're at a university and they're like, go make your feature or go make a short, go do it. Make something that speaks to you, that defines exactly who you are as a human being and how you separate yourself from other artists and filmmakers. You know, if you want to make something art house, awesome. If that's where you want to go ultimately, keep doing it. There's going to always be people who say no, but there's also going to be a lot of people who say no, that you can't do this, and they are not actively trying. Just try. Write something, put it on a page, send it to your friends, get notes, wash, rinse, repeat, until you've got something that is undeniable, that you are proud of. And at that point, put it into festivals.
Mm-hmm.
Because at that point, if you make top 10, top 3, there are festivals that will then produce you. They exist. Or they will give you enough money to go make a proof of concept. That being said, find your crew, find your audience, find people that really, really, really just like you as a human being, that could stand being on set with you for 16 hours a day. Because that's the job. But just don't give up. Because literally the moment you give up on being a filmmaker, being a writer, being a producer, being anything, a musician, at that point a part of you kind of dies.
Mm-hmm.
And I say this, I've written 25 features at this point. I'm 42. I've got movies on Shudder, on Screenbox, produced one for Terra Films, Dark Sky. But you've got to be willing to do the work, and you've got to be willing to say, I'm not taking no for an answer. And that's it. You know, if you're going to just write something, write it well. Understand format, structure, character. If you're going to produce something, do what I do. Think about it as a studio project, Harvard. Think about it as a small production company, state school. Think about it as, you know, can I do this with my buddies? We're going to do the short bus way. We're going to go, you know, community college, and we're going to get gritty with this and make something freaking undeniable. Terrifier guys did that.
Yeah.
So just find a story that resonates with you, whether it's character, whether it's situation, whether it's a monster that you've never seen or a cryptid that you want to do a story about, or whether it's an idea that you've never seen personally as a movie and you've done your research. Just fucking do it. Because eventually someone else will. And you're going to kick yourself right in the ass. Because that happens.
Yeah.
A lot. I've had projects that were like, cool, we're going to greenlight this. And then another thing very similar gets announced, dead in the water. But, you know, whether you've got managers, you've got agents, whether you know, your best audience is going to be you. Go with your gut.
Go with your gut. So listen to this motherfucker, because he knows what he's talking about. Jay, thank you so much for coming on.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, man.